running through the 6 with my woes. Hey, listen, y'all see we're going to keep, well, maybe you don't notice, but you should. We're coming to the same numbers, and we're looking at these same numbers from different angles because these are very significant numbers. I'm trying to teach you some real living math, right? So we're getting ready to tackle the most famous 6 on the face of this earth, right? So I'm going to open myself up to all manner of scrutiny. I can't wait, right? But it's me. You see, if I don't sacrifice myself, then you guys don't have the opportunity to grow, right? So I got to throw myself on the chopping block so people have the opportunity to grow, right? So quick sidebar, all right? Oh, shit. Damn, it doesn't work because the answer's there, right? I was going to say, what do you call an obelisk or a Tekken designed for people to enter and harness the energy, right? What do you call an obelisk or a Tekken where people can actually stand in it and harness that energy all day? A skyscraper, right? An office building. Anyway, but okay, it doesn't really work. So now when you get the book, right, then you get to ask that riddle to other people and, whatever. It's just food for thought. Just food for thought. All right. So let's get to this 6. You know what I'm saying? With Drizzy, we're gonna run through the 6 with my woes. My woes. See, I put a little woes to it. A little running through the 6 with my woes. All right. Let's get to work. All right. So, Shu divided the plasma from below from the plasmas above. Atmosphere and plasma envelop the sun. All right, wait a minute. Hold on. Y'all know I ain't gonna do y'all like that. But I do want to actually set the framework for a very, 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 very radical, brand new way of looking at the biblical 6 days of creation. Okay, so this is not going to be, y'all should come to know me by now. Even if this is the first time you're ever being introduced to me and my work, y'all should know that I don't go down that road. I don't go down the road that other, like, that's why I separate myself from the rest of these guys, because they like to remix information, or grab somebody's stuff and regurgitate it with, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always give you fresh. This is fresh. So there is nobody that's getting ready to give you this spin, this new radical view on the 6 days of creation. It does not exist anywhere on earth except for here with me, now with you, with us in the book I King Squared. Okay, so I'm going to give you this brand new radical view, and we're going to look at it in the light of science that we have. Okay, so this is why I actually have this page up to start. So as soon as you see Shu divided, you automatically have to turn off the traditional view, because now you have an Egyptian deity inserted into the creation epic, right? And then just on the left, right, now we see Miss Terry Osak, right? Right below Miss Terry Osak, you see what some of us know of as structured water, as it's structuring itself, right? And if you didn't know that, this is the first time you heard the term or whatever, I would suggest you look up Gilbert Ling, and then maybe, in our time, outside of myself, I would say Gerald Pollack, right? But look at the even Mona Harrison was kind of, well, she gave me all the preliminary information that I needed to make the jump. You see what I'm saying? But I had already been aware of Gilbert Ling and studied some of his work, but I'll be honest, it was a little outside my grasp when I first got it. Then studying Mona Harrison, it kind of gave me the understanding I needed to go back into that work and really dig it. And then a couple years later, I started to become aware of Gerald Pollack, and it just kind of fit. Gerald Pollack is kind of a cross between Ernest Everett and Gilbert Ling. It's like he kind of remixed both of their research, and came with a new insight. So anyway, let's get into the 6. Now, I need you guys to understand something about water when it's structuring itself. What's important to understand about water when it's structuring itself is that the pressure of charge separation pushes everything that's not water, that's in the water, together, right? So think about having a really big glob of water, right? And that water starts to separate itself. Every piece of little rock and particle that's in there that's not the water is actually going to be pushed together in the middle of that water, right? And it may float or rise to the top of that water because it's put together. So you'll get a landmass to emerge, right? You'll get a landmass to emerge. You'll get dry land that will emerge from the water structuring itself, right? The smart people already know where we're going now, right? And it's going to fit like hand in glove. And y'all going to say, oh my goodness, Minister EnQi is the greatest of all time. Damn it. Let's we'll make it like fire on these bitches. Oh shit, I need a fire button. I'm about to drop some fire on y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? So let's go into day 1. All right. So the biggest lie ever told was the rest period. Okay. There's no such thing as creation having a rest period. Okay. That never happened. Creation is still in progress right now. Right? Are you actually with your hands and your fingers creating the blood cells in your body? Or is that a mechanism that's already on autopilot, happening everywhere, all across? Like, are the flowers coming up? Like, is life still, right? So creation never stopped. And I'm explaining it to you as we'll get to it, but I just got to give it to you right there. Okay. So day 1, the water ball begins receiving UV infrared light. Okay, where are we at with this, Minister? What are we talking about? Day 1, the water ball. What are we talking about here? Okay, if you've never read, or if it's been a while, you probably want to go back to the Bible real quick before watching this video. In fact, I'm suggesting it right now. Stop the video and go read the 7-day creation story, right? It's real simple. You can pull it up on Google. 6-day creation story, 7-day creation story, and just read it real quick. In fact, it might even be worth keeping a tab open so you can compare them. Go day to day and see, chop it up. Open up a few encyclopedias and really dig into this, because I'm giving you, I'm cracking a code for you that's been in everybody's way for I don't know how many years, but it's easy for me. So anyway, where does water come from? So let's start there. Water comes from stars. Okay, so the water that we know of as this planet, right? This is our local stars, hydrogen, right? That's how we're gonna do this. We're not gonna deal with the ringwoodite crystal that we know of in the center of this planet, because that's another story, right? Needless to say, though, you usually have to have some form of particle to attract the water molecules to you. So but early Earth, you have a very cloudy, big, nasty ball of water. Okay, that's what you got, right? So what you're actually looking at is the process of our planet as a big ball of water structuring itself. Okay, this is what water does. This is where life arises from. This is why we're looking everywhere throughout the universe to find water, because we know once we find water, there's life. Why is that? Because water all alone structures itself into what we know of as the many different forms of life. So it takes EnQi, right, the god of water. I gotta come and give you the story, because now you're getting the story of me twisted. You're getting the water story twisted. So I gotta correct you. I gotta give it to you the right way, right? So where are we? All right. So the water ball that we know of as Earth is now receiving UV and infrared light, right? It's receiving UV and infrared light, which initiates the structuring of its internal charge, right? So that was actually day one. Okay, that was day one. The ball that we know of, the big ball of water, right, receiving charge. That charge then began to separate the waters from above, the waters from below. And all we have to do, listen to what I'm telling you now, because I know this is so radically far. I already know how many different names I'm going to get. I know that I'm going to get more death threats as every time I'm so far ahead. It's okay. I already know what this entails, right? You're breaking people out of a way of thinking. You gotta. So I understand it. But what I'm telling you is that this is very easily verifiable. All you have to do is look at water structuring itself. There are videos and diagrams online. In fact, I did one years ago to demonstrate how Micha'EL causes water to begin to structure itself. That was the whole purpose of Micha'EL. Micha'EL is like liquid, UV, and infrared together in a bottle, because it immediately starts the structuring of water, right? Producing charge, etc., giving you the negative ions the natural way. So you can look at water structuring itself and watch, like literally it's like magic. You'll see the plasmas above, the below, the whole, you'll see the whole nine happen right in front of your eyes. So day two, the completion of the first stages in water structure creates 3 layers of waters. 3 layers of waters. Where have we seen that before? We see that all the time in how humans are created, right? All the science you need to know is within you, right? That one cell, once you start the whole process, you're gonna get the copy cells and and you're gonna have what? 3 layers of tissue, and then we're getting ready to make a whole human out of those 3 layers of skin, right? So remember that. All your bones, organs, everything comes out of skin. It's cells, then skin, which is cells conjoined, right? And then the organs, everything comes out of that tissue. So understand, that's the blueprint. Nature works in blueprints, as above, so below. If you find it anywhere, it's usually everywhere. Any pattern in nature you find is usually a pattern that governs all of nature. So I haven't found any biological patterns that don't apply all across biology and creation. So I would be very shocked if this isn't the same. All right, so we got the 3 layers of waters, negative, bulk, and positively charged portions, like every other source of structured water. You got the negatively charged portion, the positively charged portion, and that part in the middle that hasn't been taken care of yet. That's going to be your bulk water. That's going to be where the particles still are coagulating and pushing together and all that kind of stuff, right? The Navy knows this. This is why they can't go all the way down, right? You can't go all the way down in the ocean. The pressure will kill you. Why? Because of this structuring process, right? So we lived, and this is what you also got to understand. There's so many advanced concepts at the same time. It's going to be tough, but that's why this is video, and then the video is just me helping you through the book. That's what these videos are for. Trust me, it's 369 pages of seriously, like, it's a lot of information. So don't think like these videos is covering the whole book. It's these videos. No matter how much info you think is in these videos, this is not. I would not. It would defeat the purpose for me to make a book, then pay to have that book published, and put the entire book online for free. Don't be stupid, right? I'll probably make about 10 or 15 of these videos, honestly, an hour, 2 hours a piece, and I will still probably only give you about 30-40% of the book. At that, it would take me probably about 40 or 50. I would have to make a whole new class. Seriously, like Eat Right for Your Haplotype. That's a 2-year class, and I extended it 6 months, right? So I would have to do the whole thing for this, and I'm not going to do that. If anything, I may tack another year on and make this another book. I was thinking about that. So I got to talk to some of the folks, and so it might be, this might wind up being a part of Living Biochemistry. We'll see. But anyway, right? So understand that we live in a rarefied form of water that we call air, but it's still water. Right? So that's another piece that people must get. And they're like, nah, it's not. And we would know because whoop, whoop, whoop. And it's like, nah, you wouldn't know because fish don't know that they're in water either. Fish don't know that they're in water until they come out of it. Right? So now let's look at a fish. In fact, let's have a mental experiment. I like to have these mental experiments with you. Take a fish out of water, boop, and take a human outside of this atmosphere where there's oxygen. Like put a human in a room where there's no oxygen, and take a fish out of water and just videotape what happens over the next 5 minutes. And you're going to be so shocked. You're going to be so shocked. You're going to watch that human and that fish flop around in the exact same fashion. Why? Why? Don't think that the fish in the water is breathing something different than you are. It's still the same oxygen. So why is it that they're able to get the oxygen efficiently in their density of water, and we're here and woo woo woo? I'm trying to tell you something. You're not going to need to go that. See, we got to go back to the original science. Let me tell you what happened. And we're going to go to day 3. We're going to go to day 3, but let me tell you what happened. Somewhere along the line in science, and I'm going to say somewhere right after Max Planck, because Max Planck, when he came with black body radiation, what they found out with black body radiation scared the hell out of the science community, and that was the end of that. Like, everything changes right there. Right after black body radiation, then you got Carl Landsteiner and all these guys studying the blood, and then it just gets really crazy. And then right after Tesla scared them so much that they just stopped doing natural science altogether. Like, boop, nobody needs to know these truths, these laws to the universe, none of that. Let's put these people to watch like a pastime. Let's put them on sports. Like, stop reading. Let's get these books out of these people. Like, let's just, whoop. It disappeared. So now there's no experiment to science. Science is now about theories. It's now more about theories and piling up theories on top of each other than actually looking and verifying what's going on with simple experimentation. So that's why I'm telling you, you can easily see this stuff with simple experiments. You can watch water structure itself. You can watch how particles free floating in that water will come together and look like a little mini landmass. Right? Very simple. I'm showing you how you can see that we in water. All you gotta do is look at a human when they deprive the oxygen, and look at a fish. It's the same behavior, right? In fact, here's another way to do it. Look up the laws of aerodynamics and see where those laws apply, right? If you go to an aerodynamics class, then you'll notice that they, like, literally in the class, they tell you the air in the water is the same. One is a little thicker than the other. It's the same though. So that's why all the laws apply, right? So I'm just giving it. I'm trying to tell you. Nick told me gas rules everything. Now listen, if the air was empty, what you've been led to believe. How do you think the clouds sit up there? You know how heavy clouds is? The average cloud you see up there weighs the same amount as 10 elephants. I kid you not. That's how heavy them clouds is. What they doing just sitting up there then? You can't, if you throw a penny in the air to come back down, so how 10 elephants sitting up there? It's science. You gotta get this work, man. So, and you're gonna get this work by the end of this book and these classes. You're gonna have a whole nother idea of the universe, and you know, well, everybody already saying I'm the GOAT anyway. It's all right. So that's why I got a lot of haters. Look what they're doing to LeBron in the league right now. Anyway, let's get back to work. So we finishing up day 2. This is why the rules of aerodynamics, blah blah blah. The outer layer of our water bubble converts solar energy into light, heat, and life. Oh, yeah, almost forgot that part. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, this is going to be another big one that you're going to have to see. You're going to have to take this in parts and go look this stuff up, because otherwise you're just going to say, you know, EnQi is crazy. He just making up that stuff. But no, seriously. The outer layer of our water bubble is what actually converts solar energy into photons, heat, and light. I mean, in life, right? And the light, I put light there in quotations, and you'll get that soon. We have to really deal with that. We're going to really deal with the understanding of light throughout the course of this book. Trust me, no one has ever taught you about light. And I know, because I've read the books and the classes that the other guys put out, and I know there's nothing to it. They're not teaching you shit in those books. They're not telling you anything that's real, right? So I'm going to give you the real science, but understand this is why space is cold. So if you have any doubts about that, just ask yourself, right? Say for instance, on a day like whatever, maybe today, actually it's 90 degrees somewhere. It's cold here, but it's 90 degrees somewhere. So let's just say it's 90 degrees where you at, right? Or say it's 60 degrees where you at, or maybe even 20, right? How come it is in space it's like below zero? Try to wrap your common sense brain around this, right? Look at the sun on this diagram. Look at the sun on this diagram that's standing right here in front of you. Use this to help you. If the sun right there is sending us the heat and the light, right? How come it is only hot on Earth, but in between the Earth and the sun, it's freezing? Why is it no heat there? How come there's no light there? Yeah, I'll wait. Because our plasma bubble that we sit in, it's the plasma. The same way I'm telling you it's the plasma running through your body that's giving you life, right? We already did that in another lecture, but it's in this book too, right? It's the selenoproteins that electrify the plasma that allow the red blood cells to do what they do. But if the red blood cells were not sitting in electrified plasma, if the plasma wasn't providing the essential basics, the red blood cells would not have an environment even to do what they do. So whether you got enough iron, oxygen, none of that would even come into play, right? And if you notice, that's what became under attack next, right? Once Sabi came and gave you the body's electric and was like, yo, stress the iron, make sure you got the iron. Why was he stressing the iron? He was stressing the iron so that you'd have enough oxygen, so that your blood would be magnetic. Sabi was an engineer. Sabi knows this, what I'm talking about. Sabi knows what I'm talking. Rest in greatness. But Sabi knew all of these things and couldn't, you know, it was just too much at the time that he started teaching to really get you guys this understanding. So as the young bulls, you know what I'm saying, that's our job, to come in and whoop, whoop, whoop. Right? But understand that he was an electrical engineer. So he understood the electrical nature of life at a whole nother level, which is what I'm going to try to give you throughout the course of this book too. Right? Because that's where we come from, electromagnetic people. Now, if you look at that diagram and you honestly listen to what I just said, you will understand that our whole entire life is based on the interpretation of the electromagnetic radiation by our planet's membrane. Okay, so first things first, before we go any further, I want you to start to see the Earth as a big cell. Okay, see the Earth as a big cell. That's the first thing you got to do. You have to see the Earth as a cell. You got to look at it that way. That's the easy picture right there. The membrane of the cell provides all the life for the inside of the cell. That's the same thing going on here. Our cell membrane, that plasma, the same plasma we got to get through to get up out of here, right? Okay, y'all getting it. Some of y'all is anyway. It's cool. Y'all will teach the other ones. All right, so by now, I know y'all know I'm in EnQi vision. You know what I'm gonna do? I think I'm actually gonna save these pages. Yeah, I think I'm gonna save these pages for the folks that actually get the book. So you guys could try to make out some of these things here, but we're not even gonna do it. It's a lot. It's a lot in these couple of pages that. Yeah, I'm going to save these for the family that actually gets the book. So we're going to skip these pages. Zoop! You're going to be bad. Like, oh! So there may be some questions in the 6 that I'm going to answer in these pages, but the people that don't get the book won't have this info. Yeah, I see y'all trying to struggle to pause the damn video and make out the line. Just get the book. You're going to find out all about the alkaline acids, etc., etc. You're going to find it all out, right? So, anyway, where we at? Water is the source of sight and consciousness. What? You're like, wait a minute. We just skipped from day 2 and we here. Yeah, no, it's a whole bunch of information in pages right there. But water is the source of sight and consciousness. So we're still with this understanding of how water is able to interpret electromagnetic radiation. And I need you guys to get that part also, right? You have to understand that water is the source of sight. What do you mean by that, EnQi? I thought eyeballs was the source of sight. No. No. This goes beyond. Remember, eyeballs were a development. The original single cell organisms, they didn't have an eyeball. They didn't even have a body yet. Right, so life predates eyeballs. Okay, your eyeball is over like a trillion different pieces, a billion. What is it? 100 billion, 300 billion pieces, or something crazy. The eyeball is very complicated. This is a later development. The eyeball is like part of the more advanced technology. And remember, it's an extension of your brain. So the eyes are really a lot more complex than we give them credit for. But water. Okay, so water absorbs 99.999% of all electromagnetic radiation, right? So because water absorbs it, it is black to us. I need you to understand that. Because water absorbs most of the radiation, it is black, meaning we cannot see it. It doesn't register to us. You can't see UV radiation, right? You can't see infrared light. You can't see the X-ray. You can't see all these different things. The reason being is because water absorbs them. Okay, that's why they're not visible. The only slither of the electromagnetic scale that we cannot absorb is what we know of as the visible part of the spectrum. So the spectrum that we see that's visible, that we have euphemistically termed light, right? That is only because water does not absorb it. Okay, now what did they say in Kemet? What did they tell you in Kemet? What was I? What did I mean in Kemet? A pool of water or a pool of plasma, right? All right, so You guys got to get this work. So now, what's the Eye of Re? What is the Eye of Horus again now? Now that you know what that is, now let's reinterpret again. Now, what is the Eye of Horus? Oh, excuse me. Maybe you guys don't know that the Eye of Horus is actually not Horus's. He might have borrowed that. Just like Ma'at borrowed the feather of Ma'at. And this is the shit that drives me crazy. You got Kemetic scholars talking about the feather of Ma'at until I had to come out and correct everybody. And then they start saying, oh, yeah, yeah, well, Ma'at's wearing the feather of Shu. Yeah, exactly. Because I put them on blast. Like, stop teaching people this bullshit. You're supposed to be a Kemetic scholar. You don't know that that's not Ma'at's feather? Ma'at don't have no feather. That's Shut's. That's a Shut. Shut. It's a Shut named after who it belongs to. Shu. The god of Shu. Shu, right? So, it's the same thing here. It's the same thing. Horus borrowed the Eye of Hecate. Hecate, right? And because I've already done such a long, exhaustive video when I was doing the first I King book on Hecate and all that kind of stuff and the fractions and consciousness, I'm gonna just leave you with that and you go do your own work, right? Okay, so the external color of a thing, we have to deal with that, right? The external color of a thing is telling you about its light metabolism. That's what it should, that's what the definition should, that's what we should be looking at when we talk color. When you get color, they tell you, oh, it's what's being reflected back out, right? So the green plants actually aren't green. The greens that we eat are actually all, the green plants, so when we eat greens, those greens actually absorb and contain all the other aspects of the electromagnetic spectrum except the green. Except the green. Right? So it's obviously the green is probably not healthy for us. I know that's a mind bending. I'm bending your mind. I'm bending your mind. Now, don't take that to say, oh, so is he agreeing with the guy that said don't eat kale? Hell no. What I'm telling you is that the reason why we should eat kale, and kale is nutritious along with all the other greens, is because they absorb the red part, the yellow part, the orange part, the blue part, the purple part, the violet part of the spectrum and concentrate those things and get rid of the green. That's why it reflects to us as green. It's getting rid of green. And when we consume it, right, we have all those things. So the process of greening, swage, right, in Kemet was actually the process of ridding yourself. You know what? So when we look at the external color of a thing, it's telling you about the internal light metabolism of that thing. Okay, I want you to get that. So you kind of getting. I'm taking you somewhere, right? Now I'll be honest. The smart people already got enough of this video to already rewrite and totally understand. Like if you got the 6 days or the 7 days right next to you. Once I gave you structure and water, if you did them 2 experiments, if you did the first experiment, obviously the second one, you can't flop a human around and like let them die. You know, the fish and a human to kill them to see what I'm saying. But the first one you can see, you can pull up online. In fact, you could probably pull up online somebody out of oxygen too. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so you should be able to see that, right? So I'm just giving you enough info. What I'm doing with these videos is helping you through the book, not giving you this in lieu of the book. Still need that book. Day 3, right? So all of the particles, aka crystals of all types, right? You missed the formation of crystals and all, like all that's in them pages we skipped, right? So all the particles, aka crystals of all types in the big space-sized drop of water have now been pushed together in the middle and land is created, right? Land emerges from the deep, right? The micro macro organism world, right, is created at the same time, being nothing more than the operative self-assembling crystals living among the dormant speculative crystals. What do you mean by that? Meaning, if we reach down in the dirt and we pick up a handful of rocks, technically there's nothing really separating those rocks from me, like if I was to grab a handful of bacteriophages or viruses, if I was to crush the rocks in one hand and crush the viruses in the other hand and look at them, I would have two hands full of broken crystals. I would have two hands full of broken crystals, no different. Only thing is, we know that one of those, when they're not broken, the bacteriophages and the viruses, these are mineral crystals. These are rock crystals that are living, right? We know those actually work. They do things, right? These are the construction workers. These are the guys that built this world we're in, right? These are the guys that built this world we're in terms of life, right? So we got the landmass emerge from the deep. As the landmass emerges, you have it's made out of and full of nothing but minerals, crystals, right? Some of them are active microorganisms, micro, right? Very tiny. This is the world of the virus. You guys may have inadvertently, like a lot of people, mix viruses and bacteria in the same conversation because sometimes they fit in context together. But dimensions, they're in two separate dimensions. Viruses are in the dimension of enzymes, etc., etc. Cells are in a larger cell. A virus, right, to a cell, right, is the same as you to planet Earth. So your single size, height, weight, your ratio of size to the size of this whole planet is the same as a virus inside one of your cells, right? So it is a whole world. It's a dimension, right? So that's a dimension within a dimension within a dimension, right? That's another conversation we need to have too, right? So here we go. I'm giving you how the landmass emerges, and when the landmass emerges, you got these little workers. All right, so moving right along to day 4, right? Now, mind you, because I know some people say, "Yeah, well, I still have a question." Get the book. Hey, as everything is not going to be in the video. The video is to assist the book, but not stop you from getting the book, right? All right, so day 4, the Earth cell notices the internal spark that allowed him to become is not outside of him, and that he is not alone. There are others his equal, his senior, plain, different, smaller. He becomes conscious. He also met his creator, the plasma cell, right? The point from within the circle he emerged from, right? This clarity, pun intended, clarity, right? Because as you start with a fuzzy, foggy, dirty water, and now it's clear, right? Clarity of thought is due to the stabilizing of the Earth's liquid and solids. Okay, so we've had the cycles going by of the water structuring itself. Now that the 3 layers are firmly established, now that the landmass is firmly established, right? Now, just like inside your body, now each layer of the inside of this Earth cell must be populated with quote unquote life to maintain it, right? So you're getting ready to get the purpose of life, right? You've been sadly misled here to think that life is about fun and relaxing. It's not. You're a slave. You're a worker, right? But it's not. It's not what you think. It's just what it is, and it's a part of life, right? So you have to be able to look inside your own cells, right? What if the enzymes in your cell decided to stop working and start watching TV? I mean, what if they decided to do that? What if they decided to just stop working, start having sex and relaxing, and what happens to that cell? What is a cell called that's full of dead enzymes, or enzymes that aren't working? Because you have dead enzymes, and then you have zombie enzymes, which are like enzymes that are there and they appear to be fully functional. Only thing is they're not doing anything. What happens to that cell? That cell dies off. Right now, we're in that period on the planet where as enzymes for this planet put here to maintain it, we're not doing our job, and so the planet is suffering. Now, if we don't get our act together, we're going to be recycled and replaced, and there'll be another organism here to do our job. This is what happens. This is why every so often organisms get wiped off the face of the earth, because they stop doing what they put here to do. It's just that simple, right? That's the beauty of this place. It's just like anywhere else in life. If you do what you're supposed to do, you can enjoy what comes along with the work. But the moment you think the enjoy part is the mandatory or the important thing and not the work, you're getting ready to lose that job. Okay, so the Earth becomes conscious on the 4th day. The geometry and angle of our hydrogen crystal to its parent plasma cell, plus the new ability to metabolize light, allows for the planet to be able to see. Allows for the planet. And I know I might be, the smarter my conversation, the more intellectual my conversation gets, I know the smaller my audience is gonna get. It's okay. It's okay. You guys it's tough. If this is tough to understand, just work through it and study it and take it in bits and pieces and just research every little part, and you'll see what I'm saying, right? Go back to pre-Cambrian explosion, what the status of the Earth was, right? What the status of the Earth was, right? Nitrogen was weaving itself into the Earth's environment, and enzymes, life. This is where these guys began to really populate the planet in mass. As more nitrogen began to be released into the atmosphere, you had more production of proteins and all of the living acids that began to structure and form life, right? So nitrogen, this is actually the point where nitrogen is basically filling up the atmosphere and doing its work. And we know where nitrogen was discovered, right? The Temple of Asar, right? So don't get too lost in that comment. Oh yeah, nitrogen's bad for you. No. Nitrogen is only bad for you in your body when it's unchecked, because if nitrogen bonds with oxygen, you have NO, which is very good. That's what causes all the muscles and bones and glands and organs to grow and function good, right? On the flip side, if that same nitrogen couples with hydrogen, now you have ammonia, right? And that's going to tax your kidney and liver. And if you don't have a high abundance in your diet of antioxidants, your body will then start to try to cycle uric acid as an antioxidant. So this is how you get piss, literally, in places in your body that it shouldn't be, because your body will use uric acid to try to neutralize some other dangerous acids in lieu of your body having enough reservoir or reserves of usually selenoproteins, right? So usually it's selenium. So this is why we have the cell 2O. And you just go to onetone.earth. I know some stuff that was on 40 days not there yet, and this, that, and the other in the order. It's okay. We're still getting ourselves together. Everybody's fine. The government shutdown combined with about 3 blizzards back to back here in Michigan slowed us up a little bit, but we working. Right? Working. That's why the TV show didn't come out on January 20th. Right? The Bros had a car accident that same weekend, and the blizzard hit, and it just wasn't safe to get anybody to come out to the TV station. At least I didn't want to be responsible for that. So anyway, we're on day 4, and we're moving. Right? And so we'll do more classes on these as people have questions, and I'll be able to fill in some more blanks. But I promise you, I will only be doing Q&A with people holding books. period. If you're not holding a book, you won't get a Q&A. You got this video already, and this is more information that you're getting from these people you paying. So, moving forward. All right, so I guess we got to tackle this, right? We're gonna have to tackle this at some point, and you might need to deal with this on your own. Like, it's not even a might. You have to deal with this on your own, right? I made this diagram for you from scratch to try to help you understand as best as possible, right? I'm trying to give it to you as best as possible. So, I guess I'll just explain the diagram and then we can go from there. All right. So if you see the bars, the grid, right? The grid is those represent dielectric lines of force. Now, this is the world we live in. It's invisible, but it's actually, this grid exists everywhere. Like everywhere. This grid is everywhere. All throughout everywhere, from the core of the earth to the sky. Like, this grid is everywhere. It's everywhere in our atmosphere, right? Those straight lines are your dielectric lines of force, right? They go conductor to conductor everywhere, and they sticky, so they flip off one conductor onto the next. So these lines are everywhere, right? Now, the donuts you see there, those donuts, I just use the donuts to get your attention, right? Because our attention automatically tracks to sweet, tasty, right? So the donuts, those circular lines, right? For the people that you should be watching these videos in order, right? But those circular lines represent magnetic field lines of force. So dielectric lines of force are straight. Magnetic field lines of force are circles, like donuts, 360s. Okay? Now, what you see on top of the donut, you see two things directly on top of the donut. You see a 90-degree angle ruler, right? To help you create 90-degree angles. And then you also see a copper wire that's coiled at the top, straight at the bottom, plugging into the center of the magnetic, of the donut, so to speak. Now, in that 90-degree angle there, you see a yellow toroid, right? All right, so the yellow toroid, right? That is a photon being formed at the intersection of of the circular magnetic lines of force and the dielectric radial lines of force. The red is an electron, a phonon being formed at the same time. And the black is an electron. So you have all three coming from the intersection of magnetism and static or tribal electricity, right? Natural electricity, not what comes out of your walls. That's something, that's an unnatural hybrid, what comes out of your walls. Okay, that's not natural. Okay, that's not like lightning. Lightning is natural electricity. Static or tribal electricity, what comes out of your wall is something totally different. Now, the moment that you make that vibration, that disturbance in that electromagnetic field, that grid I'm showing you, you get the photon, the electron, the phonon. You get the three out of the one from a disturbance in the field. A local disturbance is going to produce those three effects. Is going to produce those three effects. Let's do that. Now, this is where it gets really crazy, family. Okay, it gets really crazy right here. Matter of fact, we'll do it like this. Let me ask you guys this. Let's do it like this. If a tree falls in the forest and there's no ears around, right? There's no ears around. I'm not going to say people. I'm going to say ears. No ears around. Does the tree falling down make a sound? Does the tree make a sound? Does the tree falling make a sound? Okay, the answer is no. It's not a riddle, it's just science. The answer is no. Sound is not real. We live in a vacuum. Sound is not real. We live in a vacuum. I know this is gonna make I already know this is gonna make headlines. They're gonna be like, EnQi lost it. Try to order on this website, they go through some going on with EnQi, late with a package. He made a video, he says sound and sight, like EnQi lost it. He's gone. No. What I'm doing right now is just I'm advancing your conscious. I'm bringing you up to speed. I'm upgrading what you got. Because I see the community is in desperate need globally. I'm looking at what teachers are out there, and it's horrible. I mean globally too, because I watch what they do in India. I watch what they do in Africa. You know what I'm saying? I watch these places to see who's teaching and what are they teaching. It's terrible out there now. Okay, so you need to know some of these basic truths about where you live, the world you in. Right? This is a vacuum. Sound does not exist. There is no sound in this place that we live in. Okay? Sound is only created in your mind. Sound is only created in your mind. In fact, this might be the first chapter of the book that we had to break down, because remember we stopped at day 4, but day 5 and 6, like, there's a lot that we have to cover before I get to 5 and 6. You know what I'm saying? And some stuff I'm skipping. I'm skipping. It still may be too much. So you're gonna have to get the book, because it's too much for me to cover, honestly. But let me reassure you. Let me tell you this now. You could go do your homework. Sound only exists in your mind. Now somebody would say, well, if that's the case, how can somebody else hear what I'm hearing? Because the disturbance produce phonons that they're also getting as well. The phonons they're getting is carrying the same electromagnetic signatures and signals that your brain will then convert into. In fact, let me be more specific, that the pigment in your ear, let's just make sure, I want to make sure that's super specific. The pigment in your ear is going to convert into ionic signals along with that plasma sitting down there. So the pigment and the plasma is going to convert what we know of as a phonon into what you know of as sound. Okay? Sound is only created in your mind. It doesn't exist outside of your mind. I know this is a hard concept to get around. Okay? Sound only exists in your mind. Period. This is why if something's wrong with your ears, you can't hear. You're deaf, because sound is not something that is external to you. It's not outside of your body. It's not outside of your body. It's a process. The same with light. I need you to get this, and I know it's going to be tough. But there is no such thing as what you see around. Everything you see around you is in your mind. Okay, so I need you to understand, it is the same for light. Light is not an intrinsic property that exists outside of you. And I know this is going to be the hardest for you to grapple with. I might have to end this video right here, because I don't want to give you too, like this. I know this is hard to deal with. Seriously, light does not exist outside of you. So everything that you read is backwards and upside down, and it's hard for you to understand because you can't get that part. But that's also in the Bible. See, the person that, it's not, most of what we're dealing with the Bible is user error. User error, because the Bible clearly says in it, the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth not. You don't understand that we live in a completely soundless, lightless void. I need you to get this. We live in a soundless, lightless void. It is dark where we live at. Right now where you are, even if the light's on and it's quote unquote, it seems bright in your house and well lit. That is only because you have a high concentration of photons, right? And the photons carry all of the spatial information. The spatial information into your eyes, into the hypothalamus, into the optic tract, right? Well, you got two tracks. When the light goes in your eyes, when the photons go in your eyes, there's two different ways it can go, right? There's a fork in the road, right? There's nobody going to the fork in the road and going straight, right? Straight would be to the pineal gland. So that's the other illusion in that, right? So there's a lot of sayings that you know, but you don't really know. You drove by the fork in the road and went straight, that's to the pineal gland. But when the light goes in the eyes, it can go left. If it goes left, it's going to the optic tract. If it goes to the right, it's going to the hypothalamus. So your photons are actually divided in two. Duality is always present. Some of it is going to go to the brain for information so that we can convert that into quote unquote seeing, right? Knowing what's around us and what we're in. But it's a whole nother thing. And then what the other half of that light goes to the hypothalamus, because that same information that's converted into what we know of as light and sight also goes into our biology to become hormones and instructions for our cells to know how to function in the environment that that we're getting the reading, the information, the signals from. Okay, so I need you to get this. Light and sight are not external things. Okay, if you close your eyes, the moment you close your eyes, you're blocking the photons. In fact, let me be more specific. Let me go ahead and just rip your brain out. Let me turn your skin inside out for you if it hasn't been done already. Right? When you close your eyes, guess what? UV and infrared especially still get to your eye. So that's another level of proof what I told you earlier, right? UV and infrared, particularly infrared, and actually both, they're invisible. You don't see them. Why? Because water absorbs them. So they don't convert into what we know of as quote unquote light or what we see around us. You got to remember how the eyes develop. The eyes develop to help us find food and predators, to keep us safe. So that's all it is. What the eye is an external, it's like a telescope almost. It's like, think of, you got to go back to what you are. You're a cell. You're a group of cells. The cell needed a way to put a little, like the guys on the inside of the cell, those little bacteriophages, those conscious crystals, they needed a way to see outside the cell to figure out what was going on. So over time, they developed these systems that have grown into what we know of as our eyes. But there's not a light like you think there's like floating light bulbs or candles. That's not what a photon is. It's a packet of information that our brain, our mind converts into what we know of as light. It does not exist outside of us. And I know that's going to be a problem for you guys, because you're like, well, wait a minute. Didn't God say he created the greater light and the lesser light, talking about the sun and the moon? Yes and no. He did say he created the greater light and the lesser light, but who told you it was the sun and the moon? Who told you it was the sun and the moon? I'm just asking. Who said that? That was interpretation. Incorrect one too, and I'm gonna show you that. It's right there in front of you. It's an incorrect interpretation. I'm gonna show you. Now, just take what I just gave you and just reread this with your mind all the way open. In the beginning was the Word. Right? Now watch this. There's no language yet. So what is the word? The word is two things. It's vibration, right? But the moment you have vibration, you have force. The moment you have force, you have mathematics. So we're talking about a vibration, but the only way to quantify that is with number. So in the beginning, you have vibration, movement. And now what else do you have with vibration? Before we even go to force and number, I skipped one. I want to make sure you get the most important piece, because electricity and water move the exact same pattern. They go from highest concentration to lowest, and they repool. So the first thing you have when you have vibration, which is a shift, right? When you have a shift, which is that movement, guess what? You create a potential. If I move to the left, I create a potential on the right. And so now guess what? Because I repool and go from greater to less, now we have a flow. And once we have a flow of any type of electromagnetic force, we're looking at a current. Right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and darkness comprehended it not. I need you to understand this. You can't fully understand how your body functions if you still think that the sun gives you light. But somehow in between the earth and the sun is all darkness. If the sun gave us light like a big goddamn light bulb, why is it dark outside of the earth's atmosphere? I'll wait. Because the pictures that we get between Earth's atmosphere, right? We're looking at pictures that don't have, something's missing from the picture. Something that only we have. That creates light. The greater light and the lesser light. It's in your biology. Yes, so we're going to go ahead and jump all the way out the window, right? Now, I'm showing you this real quick, just so you understand that photons are not like that's not what's going into your eye. It's not. This information is going into your eye from the electromagnetic grid, and your eye, your brain is constructing. Your brain is literally constructing. Your brain is constructing the idea that you have, that it's light that's around you, but the light is really a concentration of the information. Like the more information you have, the clearer the picture is. You get what I'm saying? The more information you have about about your surroundings, the clearer they become. Like literally, it's just like thinking. The clearer it gets. In fact, in your brain, your neurons, they form pyramid nucleuses, and as these, that's how you're. All right, you know what? We're not even going to do that. We're going to stick to this because this I know this is tough, right? So God said, "Let there be light in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let them be lights in the dome of the sky to give lights upon the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. Okay, now I'm going to read 16 one more time. I need you to understand this. Matter of fact, it might be 2-3 more times because I want you to make sure you get this. Because this is where I get kind of disrespected when people insult the Bible here, right? God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night and the stars. And the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth. In the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's do this, because it gets very insulting in a culture of people that are used to trying to have things both ways. And, people have no integrity, and you can hear it in their conversation. What I mean by that is somebody will say, like, just because they want to tear the Bible down, they'll say, oh yeah, the Bible is fake. It's all astrology. Okay, fake and all astrology is two different things. Fake and astrology is two different things, right? So if you're saying that the Bible is not about these people, that the people may be fictional, they may be anthropomorphized stories about celestial events, that's not fake. That just means that you don't understand the nature of how people from that time period taught. This is why we started the book off, and we started the first video to the book off, right, with that little exercise and story, so you will understand how we taught through story, mnemonic device, right? So now I have a problem with people that say that the Bible is astrology. It's a whole book of astronomy and astrology and woo 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 woo. Okay, cool. So here's where it gets crazy, right? People will tell you it's an astrology astronomy book, and then tell you that the people that wrote an astronomy book did not know that the sun was a star. Because here's a distinction made in 16. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. That's where it gets crazy. And then they say, oh, well, and the stars. Oh, that just meant, the arcs or the firmament, the other stars, the other ones. Nah, why do we have to make this something that it's not? Why can't we just take this for what it is right there and say that obviously through the reinterpretations of this Bible in this language over 1,000 times, the translation from Greek to Hebrew, Hebrew back to Greek, left, right, up, down, all the variations. Why can't we just say that we don't know what it is that we're looking at? First of all, we're trying to make sense out of a math book with words, dead words at that. No, obviously not. And scientifically, those of us that understand light only exists in our mind, right? We know damn well when it says God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. We know goddamn well that doesn't exist in the dome of the sky. Neither does the sun and the moon. Neither does the sun and the moon. As much as the flat earthers want to say, oh yeah, EnQi, you, well, where's the picture? Where's the photograph? Where's the proof of that? Because I hear a lot of flat earthers conversation, and you know what they do? They use evidence they will take lack of round earth's evidence as evidence of flat earth. Nah, put yourself under the same scrutiny you put round earth people under, because I don't subscribe to either. I'll tell you in a heartbeat, this is a liquid planet, which means that it's subject to the forces that it deals with. You're dealing with Jello. 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 You're dealing with a water planet with a plasma body. Where's the solidity? No, it's going to be more of a flexible shape. It's going to be a much more. It's not. It's going to be somewhere in between circle and round and flat. Right. And then you could easily knock that, because the planet's not a rock planet. So when you look at these things, it's like there's a little bit of tiny water on top of a rock. It's like, whoa, that's not how this planet works. This is a water planet. This is a hydrogen planet. So it's a little tiny bit of rock in the water. It's not a little bit of water in the rock, right? You guys are confused, right? But let's stick with this, right? Your rods and your cones are your greater and lesser lights. Your rods and your cones are your greater and lesser lights. Your rods and your cones are your greater and lesser lights. I know that this sounds crazy. All this information in these videos is too much at one time. I know, but it had to happen. It had to happen. So it'd be there. You guys will get to discuss these things, bounce them around, say how crazy I am, ridiculous, whatever. Piece by piece, though, as these things become revealed to you, you're going to know. Rods and cones are your greater and lesser lights. Rods and cones create light. Rods and cones create light. Rods and cones create light. And I'm going to tell you, you got the rods and cones wrong. Cones aren't for color. Rods aren't black and white. That's not how it goes. I'm just telling you. Cones concentrate. When you have a high amount of food, well, let me flip that around. Rods are amplifiers. Rods are like lasers. They're light amplifiers, right? So you don't need, the rods are actually the stars of the show, right? The cones, what people be sweating on, is the color of the cone. With the cones are there when there's an abundance of photons. When there's an abundance of photons and they don't need to be amplified, the cones do two things. You have one set of cones that gives you a bright white light for information. And then you have the other cones basically just convert the bits, etc., etc. Now, with the rods are able to basically amplify when there are almost no photons present. The rods are able to amplify, so your eyes can pick up singlet photons, like just a couple, literally like a few photons, and your rods are able to amplify that and create some version of light. But because there's not a lot of photons, meaning you're not getting a lot of information about what you're looking at, it's going to be dark and colorless, and it's going to seem like it's nighttime, but nighttime is not. Like, nighttime is the absence of it's just a little bit of photons. That's what it means. That's all it means. It's just a little bit of photons, right? But think about it, the whole idea of light is just, you have it all the way twisted. All the way twisted. So when you're looking at a star, when you see that starlight, that's a communication. That's information. Cones create all the light that governs your day, and the light that governs your night is produced via rods. Okay, so what was God setting up in the dome of the sky? What was he setting up in the dome of the sky? The grid. The grid. What you're listening to. Let me give you this also, because you need this perspective. And I'm not sure if I wrote it in the book or if it was just in my mind as I was writing the book. You need to know that this is a first-hand account. What are you saying? I'm saying that whoever wrote this from the perspective of the earth cell thinking. You're listening to the earth cell's consciousness in this creation epic. This is your cell's mind. We're in the mind of the earth cell listening to this. I need you to understand this. You have no idea what you've been reading all this time. And it's okay if y'all think I'm crazy. That's why I put the video out there. I already know what the comments gonna look like. But the problem is that the people that might say I'm crazy, they won't be able to prove with any shred of evidence that light is produced by the sun. They won't be able to demonstrate that there's light between the sun and the earth. They won't be able to explain to you why when people's rods and cones aren't functioning, they can't see. Like, why can't you see without rods and cones? What does it look like when you don't have rods and cones? It's just blackness. Why? Photons are everywhere. But if you don't have the rods and cones in your eye functioning, or something happened to the eye, or whatever the case may be, you're not able to convert those photons into... It's all in your mind. You don't see anything outside of you but energy. Circulating, swirling energy. That's all that exists outside of us. It's just a pool of swirling, circulating energy. Various pools too, and it's crazy. It's crazy. But you convert that into something in your mind, into a person, dressers, doors, light, tree, like whatever you think you see externally. This is an internal construct. And so people will say, ask me ridiculous questions. So, Doc, if that's true, how come we aren't all interpreting this differently? Like, how come you not looking at a tree thinking it's a snake, and I'm not looking at a tree thinking it's a rhinoceros? Because we're all, if we're in eyesight, quote unquote, of the tree, then that means that the photons that are being produced from that part of the electromagnetic grid are giving us the same information, which we are going to interpret the same exact way. However, people that take entheogens, they take drugs that alters their perception, they actually will look at the tree and see a snake or a lion or a dresser, or look out their window, and instead of seeing that they're on the 20th floor, they may see a strong road, or they may see, because their perception is now altered, because they're processing the same input signals differently. Everything is liquid in our world, even light. Okay, so we're gonna have to create new fundamentals for science moving forward, because fluidity should be a fundamental law of our reality, right? Solidity is another fraud. It is not real, family. I'm trying to tell you, I know. Your brain is probably turning into liquid coming out your ear. You might have to stop this video and do this shit in pieces. This might be too much for people. Do this video in pieces, man. Stop this video. Yo, stop this video. Stop this madness. It's too much. It's too crazy. But listen, that's me on my bed frame. Like, if you could hear the knocking sound, or right, that's me knocking on the laptop. Okay, that solidness, that is fake. That is not real. Okay, that's also fake. I gotta give you the true nature of reality for you to start to understand this thing. You'll never get the laws of nature if you don't know what nature is. Right? If you live in a world where you think light comes from the sun, but everything in between the earth and the sun is dark, then you're confused. How come the light is invisible till it gets to the atmosphere? Like, why is the heat invisible? Why is it cold as the pole in the winter? Far from the inventor, but I got this rap soul. And when you know what I'm saying, why is it so cold in space and between earth and the sun, if it's what the sun releases that's making the earth warm? If the sun's light is making us warm, Why isn't there any light or heat in between here and the sun? Like, come on, man. So look what you see here. A true or close to true, and this is where the Matrix kind of got it. So trust me, it's people on this planet. There's a lot of people that know what I'm telling you. They just not sharing this stuff with you, right? And they don't know all of this stuff. It's little bits and pieces. Like you might have somebody know this, but they don't know none of that. So you're getting a massive quantum jump right now. I'm putting you 100 years into the future by taking you 5,000 years into the past for Black History Month. Okay, so that's where that whole idea came from. But that's a much truer picture of the world that you live in than the one that you have. You really live in a energy system. It's energy that's really all around you. And you're taking these bits of information in, these little bits of distinctions, all this information comes in, and then you interpret. So you don't see in, you see out. Information goes in. That's what you see on the top part of this diagram. And then your brain creates pictures. Which is why it's upside down. Right? What story you got about Set? What was the story with Set? Come on, what was the story with Set? Where my comedic scholars at? Right? I ain't giving you everything. Alright, so the world as you know it is created in your mind, and then you put that out on the world. You think you're pushing that out. Alright, we're gonna move forward. We're gonna move. Alright, so look what you got here now. Look what you got here now. This is what people actually look like. People actually look like stars. Like living organisms actually look like stars. What are you saying, Minister? I'm saying that if you were standing in front of me and I was standing in front of you, our true form, our true nature would look a lot more like either that picture on the left or that picture on the right. But what we're doing is we're absorbing all of the information projected onto the electromagnetic grid into our eyes, because it's producing disturbances all the time. Every time vibration is made anywhere by anything, that carries information, vibration, frequency, wave. That's what our eyes are taking and interpreting as a picture. Now, what do you see at the top of this? Right? What do we see at the top of this? Right? I know. The comedic scholars. Let's put this pressure on your comedic scholars. What is that up there? Why are those guys sitting down like that with their knees like that? What is this? Some type of weird, what is this? It looks weird. Like, what's going on right there? I'll tell you what's going on right there. Those are star gods, right? And what you're actually looking at is a chart of various stars and the knees. You look at the knees. That's actually how they charted the activity of each of those individual stars. How do you know that? Where are you getting this information from? Because nothing has changed. We started the very first video off with where astronomy and math came from, right here. So that means today they would have to be using the exact same system of charts to chart stars, and they are. When you look up a star chart, Google it now. Google a chart of star activity. You're going to see those exact same shapes. Only thing is we personified them, because I told you the path to become one of those. So what they're telling you is that those are actual family members that they're still in communication with. And they're giving you the activity of them, but they're still giving you their likeness and image, so that you never later on in the future forget that these are conscious plasma fields. Like, these are conscious plasma fields. Like, they already were seeds, and they went through their little butterfly. Like, they were already, what is that, the wormy, you know, they were already the wormy things that went through their cocoon and then hit the butterfly stage. They already butterflies already. Right? No? You with me? I know. I told y'all to stop this video. I already know this is like, I already told y'all to stop the video and take a break. Yep. So, of course. Yeah, it's gonna be hard. I know it's gonna be hard to deal with it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just stop this, and I'm gonna just go to the next part, because this is, I know it's too much. Yeah, I'm looking at the next page or two. Y'all don't need. It's too much. You get the book. Deal with that. I'm gonna just go on to the next part, because we still got more to cover in this same section. So we're gonna leave this alone, because y'all, I know it's crazy when y'all start seeing how this Kemet thing come alive. So let's keep this thing going. Right? Let's get back to the same illusion. Right? Let's get to the same illusion. Now, I told you solidity is fake, right? Solidity is fake. Nothing is really solid. You have to understand that nothing is solid. So we're going to pull this all apart. We're going to pull it all apart. That way you can really get this stuff. All right. So now, there is no possible, touching is impossible. You have never touched anything, and nothing has ever touched you. You have never touched anything, and nothing has ever touched you. The feeling that we interpret in our mind as touch is actually the repulsion of the atoms that make up us and the other thing. But there's no way, you can't push atoms together. That would take like nuclear strength to do that. So you cannot do that. So there's your eye can't see it. You're gonna see there's a lot of limits within the eye. In fact, the limits that your eye has actually already been codified and put into a fake magical kind of thing, and that's what magic is. That's the world of illusion. What do you think that is? With them guys like at Penn and Teller and that, what do you think that is? They have the exact weaknesses in your eye, and they have tricks designed around manipulating that, right? The shortcomings of your eye. But no, you've got to learn this stuff, right? So atoms you can't touch. Okay, so even when you're like dribbling the basketball, like I'm sure you guys go back to What the Bleep. Remember that? Whoop the Bleep? Go back. If you haven't seen Whoop the Bleep, go get What the Bleep. Right? What the bleep do we know? Go watch it. So you can hear someone else tell you, because I know when I tell you this stuff, it's like, oh my God, dude, oh my God, it's crazy. Go get some of them other folks to tell you, because I know what you need for you to believe it. I know what you need to receive it. You know what I'm saying? So go get them other folks. They're going to tell you, and then you'll, oh my God, that's deep. Right? Okay. So I'm telling you right now, you can't touch anything. Okay? Solidity is fake. All right? I want you to get this work. All right? So all matter is made of atoms. Atoms contain electrons. Electrons are negatively charged, and they push away from each other when they get close enough. Electron repulsion. Our brains perceive the electromagnetic force created by electron repulsion as touching. Okay? But if two particles ever touched, it would make a nuclear reaction. That is what nuclear reactors are for. That's what they're doing with the big CERN. That's what that is, to make things touch. Okay? That's what that is. All right? So we got to keep pulling this thing apart, right? So when people tell you how do you hear now, we got to keep unraveling this, because once you pull one string, it's going to unravel something else. So if we know that we can't touch, and there's no such thing as touching, then how is sound produced? How's sound produced? I'll wait. So, sound, our favorite, the byproduct of mass and matter, vibrating in a fluid medium so that each vibration causes a ripple in space-time that we have mistakenly allowed to reinforce the idea of solidity. Oh no, we're going to stretch your mind all the way out. It's going to get worse as we go on. We're going to stretch it all the way out. Right? Time, space. What is that? Is that correct too? EnQi, or oh no, are you gonna pull that apart too? Absolutely. What is space? Is it 3-dimensional? Are we in 3-dimensional space? What does that mean? Alright, let's do it like this. And I'm not even on space right now, so I shouldn't even be doing it. I'll probably do that in another video. Yeah. Because your common sense just like limited. How do you measure a thing? In order to measure a thing, you have to have a certain perspective on it. Right? You have to have a certain perspective on it. It's impossible to say that space has anything to do with height, length, width, any of that, any type of measurement, because you can't get to an edge of it. You got to get to at least a side of it, a top, a bottom. Where are you in space? Space is infinite. So there is no 3-dimensional space. You can measure 3-dimensional objects within space. 3 dimensions are in space. 3 dimensions are in space. Meaning my laptop has 3 dimensions to it. Height, width, volume, like that's, I can do that with a lab. You can't do that with space. All right. We off that, right? So anyway, sound is also, we also figment of your imagination. In fact, that's what I might call it, figments of your imagination, right? But sound reinforces this idea of things being solid, and I think I want to deal with that before we get out of here on this video. So this video is stretching. Y'all getting a good length video with this one, right? What is the matter? Come on, look at me through your computer screen. What is the matter? I know. I told y'all though, man. You know what? Probably another reason why I'm just unloading all this heavy thought-provoking material on you guys, because you guys have had me dumbing myself down for so long. Like, oh, EnQi, I was thinking, should I drink Pepsi? Like, bro, what the fuck, man? It's 2019, man. If you still think eating meat is good, eat that fucking meat, man. You still think Pepsi and cigarettes is working? Do it. 2019. There's nothing I can tell you that's going to help you with that. Except for the fact that you will have to make it count for, what it is we're doing down here. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, I'm making all kind of mistakes. May not be making those mistakes, but I'm making my own. Right? So we all doing it. So that's one of the reasons why you want to practice in order to really make it through that gate. One of the things that you got to do while you're alive is practice non-judgment. Living in non-judgment of others. Because you got enough bullshit going on with you. You don't have to worry about everybody else, what everybody else got going on. Right? But let's deal with this. What is matter? Because this is something that make me like, this is one of those things that causes children to rebel against science in school. And I'm starting to think it's on purpose. Things like this cause children whose minds are innocent to just reject science so here we go. Watch. Look up the definition of matter, right? And no matter whose definition you look up, I want y'all to do this for real. If you got science textbooks at home, pull them out, open them up. If you got your Google, your phone, your laptop, whatever, Google this. Matter, definition. First of all, read the top 3 definitions. They're going to have a little variation in them, right? So wherever you look up the definition, there's going to be a little variation in it, right? But they're all going to have in common that they say something that has mass, something to that effect, right? So now, a logical person, if you're really trying to figure out what matter is, right, and you look up the definition and it says something to the effect of matter is something that has mass. Matter is made from mass. matter is made from mass, but matter is not mass. It's going to say something slick like that. Then you have to say to yourself, a common sense, good thinking person is going to go, oh, let me look up mass. I got to figure out what mass is then, and then I'll have my answer. And then you look up mass. Now go ahead, everybody, look up mass. Everybody look up mass. And if it says Monday church, then that's not the mass we're looking for, right? Ooh, my pops ain't missed that mass, boy. Now when you look up mass, it says a measure of matter. And at that point right there, that is where the intelligent minds check out and shut down, and children are like, yo, I'm done with science. It's stupid. And that's what you get from your children when you're like, well, why you don't like science? It's stupid, Mom. It's stupid, Dad. It's stupid. I don't know what the teacher's saying. It's stupid. It don't make sense. And then you actually, I ain't gonna say actually being stupid, but you actually not knowing science yourself. You don't know these things. So when your child tells you, yo, I don't like it because it's stupid, you don't have a good response. So you got to tell the child, now you got to disrespect your child. And be like, oh, well, you know, you got to study harder and whoop and pay attention. Like, so now you basically like putting it on the child. Like, nah, it's nothing wrong with the class. It's nothing wrong with the information. Is something wrong with you. That's basically what you're softly communicating to the child, and the child now looking at you like you stupid. Like, oh, okay, so you understand that gobbledygook. Oh, okay, so you must be down with the adults then. Oh, okay, I get it. So now it's adults, the old cats versus the young cats, and then that's where that whole paradigm starts. You don't even know. You started that trouble. You started that trouble. That starts early, right? But it's foolishness. What is matter? Something that has mass. What is mass? A measure of matter. What the hell is that? Mass is the scientific part of this delusion. The particles that compose an object all have zero mass. Listen to what I'm telling you. All these atoms, right, that make up these solid things, they have zero mass. Listen to what I'm telling you, because we already covered this. You don't know. We covered this with the numbers. See, the numbers covers all this. See, I'm trying to show you something that we're gonna walk it down. Some of y'all gonna really get this information, and y'all gonna be really empowered out here. So folks gonna be empowered with this. All right? You just make sure y'all folks that's empowered, you buy the book. You know, let the dummies, they gonna read, they gonna hear this video, they not gonna get it. It's not gonna. But we already went through 1 through 9. Remember, point. Then when the point moves, it becomes the line. And then I showed you how the solid, right? When it becomes solid, you actually have the sides or the shape trapping energy within that solid. Right? And I told you sacred geometry was the study of how charge moves inside an object. Right? Because now, see, in space is infinite. That's why you got to unravel all this shit. Space is infinite. Space is infinite. So technically, there's infinite possibilities for charge to move in space. However, once charge is confined, now it has limited possibilities. If we control the shape that we confine charge to, then we can control how charges manifest. Trapped charge is mass. Trapped charge is mass. Energy imprisoned is mass. I need you to get it. When you trap charge in a cube, now that charge inside the cube is mass, because that charge in there has energy. That energy now can exert a force. Energy can exert force. When atoms bond, they begin to circulate, right? their own internal charge, right? So there's an internal charge to every shape, just like it's an internal charge to you. I know. I'm gonna try to give y'all in, right? And give y'all in little pieces, right? So you gotta understand this is a multiverse. It's multi-dimensional, but it's not like what you think. It's not like what you think. All these dimensions are in the real dimensions are one inside the other, like the Russian doll. That's what the Russian doll thing is. The Russian doll is actually the reality. That's how our world is constructed. It's one dimension inside of another. So there's a celestial dimension, right? That's the dimension of the stars and the planets, right? But then the celestial bodies themselves, inside of those celestial bodies, there's life. That is another dimension of existence. So take your planet, Earth, for instance, the cell, the Earth cell. Inside the Earth, there is life. Right? Plants and animals. Plants and animals, right? And you want to put humans as not animals or whatever. That life, you know, the insects, the bee, that life is supposed to maintain its dimension of existence. It's supposed to take care of it. That's your job. Your job, like it's your pay for being alive. You're alive because that dimension exists for you to maintain and shepherd. That's your purpose of being alive. All right? If you don't take care of it, then the dimension will like recycle your parts and come up with a new creature it's more conducive. All right? But so, boom. So now you got that dimension, right? Now within that dimension is another dimension. Right? What do you mean? I mean inside our bodies, inside those beings, right? So we went inside. So you got the celestial dimension with the stars, the planets, right? Inside the stars and the planets, right? They're inside the star and the planet. Once you get inside an atmosphere, you're inside that organism, right? Inside that organism is a new dimension of life. Now, you go inside the Earth cell, there's us. Boom! Now, guess what happens when you go inside us? Inside us is another dimension of life. Now you have the human cells, or the animal cells, right? Or the plant cells, right? Then, guess what happens if we go inside the cells? In each of these spaces, it's infinitely large to the creatures that are in there. So now you go inside your cells or plant cells, whatever. There's a whole nother world. You literally have like how many people on the planet? Like 9 billion, they say. Go inside a cell and you're going to have well over 10 billion enzymes in there going crazy. Then you're going to have billions of cells. It's a whole... And you probably got enzymes in cells wondering if there's life in other cells. Crazy. But there's even a finer dimension and a finer dimension, right? Because if we go inside the enzymes, right? We can go inside the enzymes. We know the enzymes are composed of now you're getting closer to the elemental level, right? But now we can go inside the elements, like we can go inside of calcium per se, or inside of oxygen, and what? There's another dimension of existence there. We're getting closer and closer to what we know of as pure energy, but we don't know if that's just a perspective from this high up. We don't know if it's just a perspective from this high up. So now you get to the next, and then there's more particles, and that's what we would be to the higher spheres. Particles, nothing almost. It's like whatever little, you know, that's where your dimensions are. One inside another, right? Because space is infinite, so it's not like don't think weird. Don't think weird. It doesn't go like that. You know, once you get past the elemental stage, then you're at the quantum stage, right? Then there's another is constant and keep pulling that onion back. All right, so another diagram. I'm trying to give y'all the best understanding as I can. Okay. And this is just a diagram to show you guys, to give you guys a good little understanding, and even go back, beginning, I guess, to go back to that tree of Asar and the underworld, right? The underworld. The underworld is not a world beneath the world we live in. The underworld is a world within the world we live in. And within that one, there's another one, and that one, there's another one, and another one, and another one. So the perfect green, which was the perfect, the perfect black was green, right? And I told you that the external color of a thing represents the internal metabolism of light, right? What is light? Light is a result of the disturbance of energy being produced, because energy is also produced from the disturbance of the electromagnetic field that we live in, the grid, right? So there's a doorway, there's a process, there's a way to go from the little tiny to the big. In fact, we do it all the time, right? Your sperm cell actually gets inside the egg, becomes a fertilized egg, right? And I'm saying it in a way where it's not specific, so as to avoid people trying to create small arguments that would take away from seeing the big picture. The sperm cell goes into the womb cell, right? The egg cell, which is a sperm cell compared for, it's like as if you went to a baseball stadium or a football stadium and it was absolutely empty and just you were in there alone. Like that stadium is like the egg, the unfertilized egg waiting in the womb. That's how big it is, like a stadium. And you by yourself would be like that one sperm cell, right? So now that little tiny sperm cell gets to use all the resources and gets dressed in that big, you know what I'm saying, like Avatar. Remember that the people had them big robots they could get in and fight? So like that's how the little sperm cell is getting into the egg. It's like boom, that's like the big armored robot type vibe, you know what I'm saying? And now that the little sperm cell gets to take over the reproductive machinery of that egg and like drop its program in there, personalize it, boom, this us, let's do it. Then it creates a certain, that electromagnetism created between that connection. Yeah. So that creates magnetism, that frequency. Now you're gonna have drone, or I don't want to say stem cells, because there's a distinction between the type of stem cells. There's science got a lot of room to grow. But so now these cells mimic. So you get drone cells that surround that first cell, and they kind of clone. You have to go through a little cloning process right there, and now you have, but these are mom cells. Mom is loaning her cells, and that original cell is reprogramming the other cells now. Okay, frequency, that's all it is. Magnetism and frequency. It's just reprogramming them outside. So it's not weird. Like it doesn't have to divide, and it doesn't do that like that. It's totally does. Yeah, that's an electromagnetic process, which is the reason why you see the increase in pigment whenever you're pregnant, no matter what type of, it's not about a black folk, anybody, right? Even white ladies, it could be German, Irish, like even red hair, like it doesn't matter. You're still going to get melasma. You're going to get the dark line up the stomach, because there's an increase in internal pigment to handle all this electromagnetic activity. Anyway, so the blob is everything soup, pure undifferentiated potential. Yes, I'm just cutting that conversation just like that and getting right back to work, because I already know I could probably explain this forever, and the people that aren't going to get it, they're not going to get it.